Good evening, everyone, at this very, very busy time of the Jewish year. Busy for good reasons. We're holding on the bottom of Ayin Ches Amud Beis. Bottom of Ayin Ches Amud Beis at the new Mishnah. Shachta chutz l'zmana v'chutz l'mekayma. If he shechted the taida, having in mind to eat it after its time or smoke it up after its time, that's a machshava pigel. Or he had in mind the chutz l'mekayma to do it outside of its place, and he had the 40 loaves there. Kidei shalechem. Although this was a disqualified shchita, the loaves become sanctified. However, shachta v'nimtzas treifa, but if he shechted the taida and he found that it was defective, he found it had a perforated membrane of the brain, like kiddush alechem. Now, what about if he shechts it v'nimtzas balas mum? He shechted and he found it had a mum. Now, the Gemara is going to say that this is a specialized case where it was found to have a very small mum, relatively doikin shiba'ayin, a cataract in the eye. Rebbe Eliezer Aimer Kidesh. Rebbe Eliezer says the bread is sanctified. V'chachamim Aimer loy Kidesh. The bread is not sanctified. Shachta shaloi l'shma. If he shechted it for the wrong designation. V'chein ayel ha'meluim. Also the ram of the meluim, which was accompanied by bread. V'chein shnei kivsei atzeres, and the two lambs of Shavuos. Sheshachton shaloi l'shman. Loi kiddush alechem. The Gemara is going to ask why it says the ayel ha'meluim and it doesn't say the more frequent ayel nazir, which also comes with 20 loaves. So the Gemara will talk about that. Says the Gemara, Masnis and Mani. Who's the author of our Mishnah? Rameir. Rameir has the version of the argument like it is recorded in our Mishnah. The Tanya. Zaklal, kol shepilu suloi koydem shrita. If the psul happened before the shrita, for example, the animal was a treifa, so that occurred before the shrita, loy kiddush alechem. The loaf is not kaddish. Pisuloi acha shrita, but if the psul occurs after shrita or during the shrita, kiddush alechem. Shachta chutz l'zmana v'chutz l'mekayma. Therefore, if he shechted it, although he had in mind the machshava of pigel or machshava to do it outside of its place, kidei shalechem. But shachta v'nimtzas treifa, if he shechted and found it was a treifa, so that's a pre-existing problem, like kidei shalechem. So the question becomes, why is a balmum different? Balmum is also pre-existing. However, that's shachta v'nimtzas balas mum. Rebbe Eliezer Aimer Kidesh. Rebbe Eliezer says, even so, it's the bread is kaddish. Rabbi Shua Aimer kaddish. Divrei Rameir. That's Rameir's rendition of the argument. Amar Rabbi Yehuda, no. Lo nechliku Rabbi Eliezer Rabbi Shua al sheshachta v'nimtzas treifa. That is not that is lo kiddush alechem. V'al chutz l'zmanai, which is a psul in the shechita, shekidesh. V'al balmum, and if it's a balmum is also pre-existing. Shaloi kidesh. V'alma nechleku, or they only argue al chutz l'mekaymai, where he shechts it having in mind to eat it outside of its place, or smoke it up outside of its place. That's the machlokes Rebbe Eliezer and Rabbi Yehuda. Rebbe Eliezer and Rabbi Shua. Rebbe Eliezer Aimer Kidesh. Rabbi Shua Aimer Lo Kidesh. So now, Rabbi Yehuda explains the reasoning between Rebbe Eliezer and Rabbi Yeshua. Amar Rebbe Eliezer says, look, Hayo v'chutz l'zmanai pasul, v'chutz l'mekaymai pasul. Chutz l'zmanai is a psul, and it's a psul in the shechita, and chutz l'mekaymai is a psul. Ma chutz l'zmanai, we said kadash, that the lechem is Kaddish, Avchot Samakaimai Kaddish. Rabbi Yeshua says, no, I make a different comparison. Ubal mum puzzle. Ma bal mum like kaddish, just like a bal mum, the bread is not sanctified. Af chutzah mekayma like kaddish. Amalei Rebbe Eliezer, so Rebbe Eliezer counters. Ani demisiu lechutzah zmanai. I compare chutzah mekayma to a machshava of chutzah zmanai. Va'ata demisu lebal mum. Let's see what it's more similar to. Nira l'mi daima. Im daima l'chutzah zmanai. If I'm right that it's more similar to chutzah zmanai, nidan anuk mechutzah zmanai. We should learn now from chutzah zmanai. Just like chutzah zmanai, the loaves is kaddish, so chutzah mekayma loaves should also be kaddish. Im daima lebal mum, then I'll concede to you nidan anuk lebal mum, where it's not kiddush alechem. So here's Chil Rebbe Eliezer Ladon. So Rebbe Eliezer says, look, Donim psul machshava mipsul machshava. Let's learn out a psul machshava. Chutzah mekayma is a psul machshava. You had in mind to eat it outside of its place. Mipsul machshava, from another psul machshava, having in mind to eat it after its time. Ve'in dainim psul machshava psul guf. We don't compare a psul machshava to a balmum, which is a psul guf. Here's Rabbi Yeshua Ladon. Rabbi Yeshua says, I'll argue the other way. Donim psul she'ein by karas. Chutzah mekayma is a psul that doesn't involve a karas. Mipsul she'ein by karas. To a balmum, it's a psul she'ein by karas. V'al yochichu chutzah zmanai. I'm not going to compare it to chutzah zmanai because that's pigel. If you had a mind to eat it after its time or smoke it up after its time, that's pigel. She'psul she'yesh by karas. V'aid, and furthermore, he says, Nidainenu mishalai l'shmai. Let's compare chutzah mekayma to shalai l'shmai. Shepshul machshava, that it is. You said that mum is not good because it's psul b'gufay. So compare it to shalai l'shmai, which is a psul in machshava. Ve'ein by karas. So therefore, it's more similar to chutzah mekayma. And we said that if you have a machshava shalai l'shmai, we said that kiddush alef. We said that over there, the din is that if you do it shalai l'shmai, the bread is not sanctified. V'shasik Rebbe Eliezer, and that argument won the day. Rebbe Eliezer was quiet. Now, Rameh doesn't learn that way. The question is, why would you hold that if you shecht it and find it a treifa, it's not kiddush alechem? Because the psul became before the shechita. But if you shecht it and it's a balmum, the lechem is kaddish. That's also a psul before the shechita. Reb Meir Maishna shchata v'nimtzas treifa. Dahani psulei kodim shechita. U'maisha shchata v'nimtzas balas mum. Why is that not considered to have a psulei kodim shechita? That's also a pre-existing problem. Says the Gemara, Rebbe Eliezer holds that we're talking about a specific case, like I told you in the Mishnah. B'doikin sheba'ayin, with a cataract in the eye. V'alibad Rabbi Kiva, who says, the Amar, im alu lo yerdu, that if it had a normal balmum, if you put it on the mizbech, you got to take it down. But a mum in the eye, there, it's small, and if you put it up, you don't take it down. So since it's enough to sanctify it, that if you put it up, you don't take it down, it sanctifies the lechem. Rabbi Yeshua says, look, Kiyama Rabbi Kiva Malu Lo Yerdu, that's Bipsulu de Gufei. That's only regarding its own defect. So if it has a Daikin Shiba'ayin, it's a smaller defect. If you put it on the mizbech, you don't take it down. But it's still a balmum, aval kiddush lechem light. But when it comes to sanctifying the bread, it's not enough that it should sanctify the bread, because it's a psul before the shechita. It can't sanctify the bread. Now, the next Gemara is a very interesting piece of Gemara. Mark Frankel is here, but he's playing possum. A lot of possums here. There he is. He's not in the dungeon. Now, good to see you, Mark.
Good to be seen, Rabbi.
Immer. Chatas sheshachta chutz lizmano. A chatas that was shechted, planning to eat it after its time. We learn out from a pasuk. We learn out from a pasuk. Im also loiseired. We learn out from a pasuk that if you put it on the mizbeach, you don't take it down. What about if you had in mind chutz mekayma, that you were going to do the avodah outside of the hazara, or eat it outside of the hazara? Rav Amar Tered, Rav Amar Loi Tered. Rav says you have to take it down. Rav says you don't take it down. Rav Kareb Yeshua. Rav is like Rabbi Yeshua. He compares the chutz mekayma to a balmum. Just like a balmum has to be taken down, so also chutz mekayma has to be taken down. The Rabbi Kareb Eliezer, who compares chutz mekayma to chutz zmanai. Well, we said chutz zmanai doesn't have to be taken down, and chutz mekayma doesn't have to be taken down either. And Rabbah retracted to Rava's opinion that it has to be taken down. Why? Because Rabbi Eliezer was shasak. Remember, Rabbi Yeshua gave a great argument. So therefore, it stays like Rabbi Yeshua, who compared it to a balmum, just like a balmum has to be taken down. This has to be taken down. However, the Ikidamre, there's another version that Afal Gab the Hodebe Rabbi Eliezer the Gabi de Rabbi Yeshua, but Gab Rabba the Gabi de Rava loy Hodebe. Rabba did not retract to Rava. Rabba, who said that you don't take it down, did not retract to Rava. Why? Hasim who, in the case of the Taida, the Ka'amalei Nidainenu Mishalei Lishmai. We say that we learn it out from Shaloi L'Shmai. And just like by Shaloi L'Shmai, it's Loi Kidesh Alechem, so therefore here too. Aval Hacha, Idainis Lei Mishaloi L'Shmai, if we're going to compare the Shaloi Mekayma, the Chattis of Shaloi Mekayma to Shaloi L'Shmai, well, the din is by Shaloi L'Shmai that Im also Loi Seired, so here also he still maintains the Rabbah still maintains that if you put it up, that which you did with the Machshava of Shalom Mekaymai, you don't take it down. Now, the Mishnah says that the same dinim are true, not just about Kiddush L'Lechem of the Taida, but also the lechem that came with the inaugural ayil when they inaugurated Aaron, and also the Shtei HaLechem. But there's another ayil, and that's the ayil nazir that has 20 loaves. So says the Gemara, Papa Shavik Tana El Nazir the Shchiach. Why does the Tana forsake the ayil of the nazir that's throughout the generations, V'nokat El HaMeluim, that happened one time in history? Says the Gemara, V'tana Didan Iker Mil Sanakat. Our Tana uses the first case where an animal was brought with loaves, and that's by the Miluim at the time of the Mishkan. Now, Zok the Heilige Mishnah, as we're just getting on the way, and we welcome in Saba and Mo Kushner and Baruch Ian and Yaakov Warman and Irving Fishbaum and Yisrael Fisher and Aaron Swade, 2 nights in a row by Aaron Swade. That's really wonderful, Aaron. Shalom Fogel, Yitzi Fuchs, Ruben Palak, Menachem Umansky, Nachman Chapler, Dr. Block, Michal, Shelley Zeitman, Gabriel Epstein, Mark Frankel, Moshe Lehman, Elia Shutman, Avram Rezepkowitz, Yeshua Shmuel Eisenberg, Shimon Klein, Abe Arbach, Yafi, Yitzi Muller, Danny Vogel. Here in the shul, we are. Oh, that's not Michal. That's Michal Avram. And here in the shul we have Berish Gesseman, Chaim Kramer, Iran, and Ruvain Shannet holding down the fort over here at this pretty busy time of the year. Now, remember always that when you learn when it's hard, L'fum tzara agra, according to the hardship, is the reward. Hanisachim shekitchu bekeli, libations that was sanctified in a keli, and v'nimtza zevach pasel, and the carbon that you were bringing it with was found to be disqualified. Im yesh zevach achar, if you have another sacrifice that needs the libations, yakri v'imo, you could switch it to that other sacrifice. However, v'im lav, but if it was left overnight, you pasel belina, it becomes disqualified by being left overnight. What?
Because it's not covered?
No, because once something is left overnight, it's pasel belina. Now, it's true not just with liquids, with everything. Amar ze'iri, eina nisachim miskachin ela b'shchitas hazevach. The libations are not sanctified except with the shchita of the carbon. In other words, even though we put the libation into a clay shares first, the sanctification of the libation comes with the shchita of its accompanying carbon. My timer, what's the reason? Because amakra zevach unusachim, sacrifice and its libation. So the sacrifice is what sanctifies libation. So the Gemara says, Tanan on the Sachim Shekitcha B'Keli, that was sanctified in the clay shares. V'nimtzach zevach pasel, im yesh zevach achar, if you have another carbon to use it with, Yaakov imay. V'im lav, and if not, you pasel belina. Now, my lav, doesn't this mean the ifsel b'shchita? Doesn't this mean that the zevach was pasel with the shchita? In other words, it became invalidated during the shchita. Now, if that's the case, then the shchita did not sanctify the libation according to Ziri. And if so, then why, if left overnight, would it become pasel belina? In other words, if putting it in the clay shares initially did not sanctify, and only sanctified because of the shchita, then if it was disqualified during the shchita, so that means that the shchita didn't get a chance to sanctify it, so then why does it become pasel if left overnight? It never got sanctified. Says the ifsel b'zrika. It was disqualified during the zrika. In other words, the shchita sanctified it. It was a good shchita, and became disqualified with the zrika. Says the Gemara, that must be going like according to Rebbe, that if you have two matters, the shchita and the zrika, even one of them gives the sanctification. Kaman Rebbe the Amar Shnei Dvar Ma'matirin Ma'alin Zeh. If the shchita was good, it already sanctifies it, even if the zrika wasn't. Says the Gemara, no. Afilu Temer Rabbi Elazar Reb Shimon, who says both, you need both the shchita and the zrika. All Rabbi Elazar Reb Shimon means is that the zrika that's no good will stop it from being sanctified. But here what happened is by the zrika, he caught the blood and it spilled. So it wasn't that the zrika was not good, he just couldn't do it because the blood spilled. He caught the blood in a cup, the nishpach. But Rabbi Elazar Reb Shimon Savala Kavasei Davu, he holds like his father, the Amar Kala Aymed Lizra Kazarik Dami. Whatever's ready to be sprinkled is as if it was sprinkled. So therefore it had a shchita and it had a zrika, therefore it's sanctified. If there's another carbon you could use it. If not, it's disqualified belina. Amar, but we have to analyze something else that's tricky. Amar, Im yesh zevach achar yikravu imay. If there's another carbon, it could be offered with it. Says the Gemara, it could be switched to another carbon. Oil that's separated for one mincha, cannot be switched to another mincha. So how could you do that with the wine? This is a special stipulation of Bezdin, that if I bring a carbon together with a wine libation, if something happens to my carbon, is a stipulation that wine could be shifted over to another carbon. If the wine is needed for this carbon, yes. But if not, it could be used for another carbon. Says the Gemara, Yachi Shemen Nami. Why didn't they make this stipulation with oil also? Says the Gemara, Shemen Gufa de Minchu. The oil is part and parcel of the mincha. The wine is just an adjunct. So it's different. They made a stipulation on an adjunct, not what was part of the mincha. But says the Gemara, so why did they say that you should use the wine for another carbon? Why didn't they rather say that the wine should go out l'chulin? If it's not needed, it should go out l'chulin. The lisnei alei and the neipku l'chulin. Says, you know why? Because since this wine was in a clay sharis, we're afraid that people, they won't know that it's because a carbon got disqualified. That anytime you could take something out of a clay sharis, and it could become kulin. Says the Gemara, Hashdanami here too. Why don't we make a gzeira shema yomru nisachim shefrishan l'shum zevach zeh, that libations that were separated for one carbon, sheim l'shum zevach acher, they're always allowed to be switched. Says the Gemara, Hatani Matisya ben Yehuda, and that interesting, Matisya ben Yehuda was taught by Matisya ben Yehuda. It's talking about where there was another carbon slaughtered right near there. So when you shift it, people won't know that you're shifting it. They'll think you're doing it that it was already separated for the other carbon. Says Gemara, if there isn't a carbon slaughtered there at the same time, my nifsel belina, what are you going to say that it's nifsel belina? Aditani seifa imlav yipasul belina. If there's no other carbon, it's possible belina. It should say liflik v'lis nebidida. Only if there's another carbon that was slaughtered being next to it, that nobody will know that you're making the switcheroo. Says Gemara, that's what it means. Hakanami kama. Bamedvar mamurim. You have to ad-lib this. Bamedvar mamurim shayis zevach zavuch ba'isasha. Where there was another carbon lying around right there that was slaughtered, where you could shift it without people knowing that you're shifting the nesachim to something else. It's as if it was left overnight. Upsulin. Oh, but now we have another problem. Now we have another problem. And that is Reb Shimon ben Elazar. We said that this is going according to Reb Shimon. This is going according to Reb Shimon, who says Kala Oimei Lazarik Kazarik Dami. But does he hold Leiv Bezdin Masna? Reb Shimon Leiv Bezdin Masna. If you remember, we learned this earlier, that the Talmud always had a bullpen, a sheep pen, where they had 6 lambs ready that were checked. Now the problem becomes that if at the end of Adar, they don't need these lambs. They can't be used in Nisan because the ones that are in Nisan have to be bought from the new shkalim. And these were bought from the old shkalim. So, v'amar Rav Idi bar Avin, amar Rav Amram, amar Rav Yitzchak, amar Rav Yochanan, Tmidim shaloi hutzrichu l'tzibur, the tmidim that are in the bullpen, the lamb pen, at the end of Adar, that are not needed. The divrei Rab Shimon ein niptim tmimim. They can't be redeemed unblemished, because a unblemished animal as a kedushas haguf, it can't be redeemed. Rather, you have to let it get a mum and then redeem them. The divrei chachamim niptin tmimim. According to Chacham, they could be redeemed unblemished, because we say leiv bezdin masna aleim, that if they're not needed for this year, it could be redeemed and used for the next year. Says the Gemara, Shani Hasam, you know why Reb Shimon over there doesn't say leiv bezdin masna? The islu takanta beria. There's another eitzah. You could let it pasture until it gets a mum. Zok the Heilige Mishnah. Just getting started here on a beautiful Monday evening, learning when there's less learning in the world. Learning when the less learning in the world means that we're from the Mekaimei Ha'olam, from those that hold the world together. I want to remind everybody that this is the time of the year where everybody is on high tension, and it's a special time where we should be careful not to say a not nice word to our wife. We have to be very careful with that. You say a not nice word to your wife, it puts a blemish on all of your learning. It's a terrible thing. Now, Vlad Taida, remember, a Thanksgiving offering could be a female. The child of a Taida, while you're waiting to bring the Taida, it gives birth. That's what happens. Mothers give birth. Usmurasa, or if you say Zetachazeh, that's a second case. A third case is Hifrish Taida. Let's say that Ruvain was Mafrish a Taida, and V'avda, he lost it. V'hifrish Acheres Taktea, and he separated the second one. And then he found the first one, so he has an extra one. These extra ones, whether the offspring, whether the Tmura, whether the extra one, because now he has two, Eina Tu'una Lechem. It doesn't need Lechem. Shenema V'ikriv Al Zevach HaToida. He brings the bread Al Zevach HaToida with a Hey Adida. HaToida, the Toida, the original one, Tu'una Lechem. V'loi V'lada, but not its offspring. V'loi Chilufa, not its exchange. If he says Zetachazeh. V'loi Chilufa, and not one that he did because he lost the first one, and then he found the first one. V'loi Tmurasa, nor its exchange to Unin Lechem. Says the Gemara, Tan Rabbanan. Ma'u Aimer, what do we learn out when it says Toida Yikriv? So the Gemara says, Minayin l'mafrish Toida Seiva Avda. How do we know that if you separated, Reuven separated Toida, and he lost it? V'hifrish Acheres Takteha, and he separates the second one. V'nimtzes Harisha, and he finds the first one, Varishteim Oimdais. How do you know that multiple choice? That he could bring whichever one he wants together with the bread. Minayin, well, I would say maybe he has to bring the first one. No. Minayin she'ezeh mehem she'yirtze yakriv. Any one of the one or two he could offer. V'lachma imo, together with the lechem. Talmud Leimer atoida yakriv. As long as he brings the taida, he could bring with it the lechem. He wants the first one, he wants the second one. Yachol sheteish niyatun lechem. I might think that the second one also needs lechem. Talmud Leimer yakrivenu. Yakrivenu is one, singular. Echad v'lo shnayim. Now, acha should read ba'akasiv. We have one inclusion, omiyat, and one exclusion. Minayin l'rabbis v'ladais v'chalifas v'tmurais la'krava. How do we know that the offspring, the exchange, not the exchange, the one that we separated when we lost the first one, utmuras and exchange la'krava, they also have to be offered. Or it's the baby, the tmura, and the second one has to be offered. Talmud Leimer imal taida, any taida. Yachol yu tunas lechem. I might say that the offspring, the exchange, and the second one needs loaves. Talmud Leimer v'hikra val zevach ha taida. That's a hey idea. Taida tuna lechem. The original taida needs lechem. V'loy v'loda, not its child. V'loy chilufa, not the second one, or the one that you don't offer first. V'loy tmurasa, or the exchange, tunin lechem. Shalach Rav Chanina mishmeid Reb Yochanan, lo yishanu ela la'acha kapara. Now this is going to need a lot of explanation. This is a very enigmatic statement. The two dots here are in the wrong place. The two dots should have been before this. So we're going to pause a moment over here to just change the channel